Policymakers and business leaders from across the globe are set to arrive in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates for the world's biggest and most important annual climate conference. The COP28 summit, which starts on Thursday and is scheduled to run through to December 12, will provide a critical forum for government officials, business leaders and campaign groups to accelerate action to tackle the climate crisis. The pressure to deliver is immense. Global temperatures and greenhouse gas emissions continue to break records, with no continent left untouched by more frequent and intense extreme weather events. Here's a look at what's at stake at COP28. Climate finance is always a hotly debated talking point at the UN summit, and COP28 promises to be no different. It refers to the financing needed to support efforts to both significantly reduce emissions and adjust to the effects of climate change. Talks in Bonn, Germany earlier in the year became gridlocked over this issue of finance and support, with some low-income countries refusing to talk about slashing emissions unless there was an equal focus on how wealthy nations would provide cash to them. It laid the groundwork for what one environmental group expects to be a huge fight between high-income and low-income nations at COP28. Data published by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development in mid-November, however, showed that rich countries had finally fulfilled their promise to provide $100 billion a year to low-income countries, albeit 2 years after the deadline. It is hoped that this could go some way to fostering goodwill at the summit. COP28 has a massive role to play in setting the political direction for a transformational shift in climate ambition. But without finance and economic confidence, countries won't be able to act at the pace and scale needed, said Alex Scott, program lead at E3G, an independent climate think tank. Another major financial issue will be to operationalize the so-called loss and damage fund, arguably the main legacy of last year's COP27 summit in Egypt. Rich countries, despite accounting for the bulk of historical greenhouse gas emissions, have long opposed the creation of a fund to compensate low-income countries for the loss and damage they've caused. Advocates argue, however, that it is required to account for climate impacts, including hurricanes, floods and wildfires, or slow-onset impacts such as rising sea levels, that countries cannot defend against because the risks are unavoidable, or the countries cannot afford it. The establishment of the Loss and Damage Fund at COP27 was seen as a historic breakthrough and potential turning point in the climate crisis, although many key details were left unresolved, such as who should pay into the fund, how large should it be, and who should administer the money.